Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the previous class, we discussed about previous two classes. We discussed about difference between internal and external auditor. Discussed about appointment, legal position, status of auditor, qualification, submission of report, fixation of remuneration, nature of checking, rights to attend the meetings. These were the differences. We discussed it in detail. Then we discussed about internal control over cash purchases and sales. In this part, we discussed about internal control over cash receipts. Then after that, we discussed about internal control over cash payments, in which we discussed that we would use checks if you want to control your payments. And when using in checks, especially cross-check. Then safety of checkbooks must be kept safe. Entry in cash book whenever transaction is occurring. Record that entry at that time in the cash book. Then authorized signature. There must be one responsible person. Without his signature, payment will not be approved. Verification before signature. That responsible person, he must verify the things. He will match this with voucher and voucher or invoice before signature. Then special nature payment. And special nature payment, you need sanction from the top management. So approval from top management, it is important. Reconciliation means reconciliation statement. One responsible person, he must prepare the bank reconciliation statement time to time. Mostly we are making it monthly bank reconciliation statement. Vouchers importance may not be ignored. For every payment, voucher should be obtained. You must obtain the voucher. Then wages sheet preparation. While preparing the wages sheet, internal control should be applied to prevent fraud. So we will apply the internal control so fraud can be prevented. Today we are going to start another thing, internal check over purchases. Whenever we are making purchases, so what internal check will we follow to prevent fraud and error? Supply or requisition. Requisition means request to some department. Whenever goods are needed in any department of the company, the head of the department should send the purchase requisition. Whenever any department, there are lots of departments in a company, so whenever goods are needed, whenever something is needed, so they will write a requisition, purchase requisition to purchase department. So purchase department will be informed with the help of a purchase requisition. He should mention the quality of the goods, the quantity of the item, and the time by which the goods must be supplied. And when the goods are needed, you will mention each and everything clearly. So, for purchasing something, the department head, he will write a requisition to purchase department. in which he will write the quality of goods, the quantity of goods, and the time on which you need these goods. Then purchase order, it should be given in writing. Then purchase department will give a purchase order. And this purchase order, it should be in writing. It should be given on a printed and numbered forms. This purchase order, it will be in printed form and proper numbering. There must be proper numbering. It should be reordered in the it should be recorded in the purchase book, and in the purchase book we will record it. Copies of the purchase order. There should be 3 copies of each purchase order. 3 copies of each purchase order. 1 copy should be sent to the suppliers. One, you will send it to the supplier because he will provide the goods to you. 1 copy to the store clerk, 1 to the purchase department store clerk, and 1 should remain with the purchase department. In purchase department, one is the store clerk who will keep goods in the store. So 1 copy will be sent to the store clerk and the other will be sent to purchase department. Then writing note. When goods are received, the store department will make an actual inspection. When goods are received, then the purchase department, they will make an actual inspection whether the quality is right, the quantity, whatever the specifications are, it is according to the specifications or not. After counting or weighting, the receiving person will write the particulars on the goods received note. When after checking, the person who is responsible or the receiving person will write his particulars, his name, his signature, and his designation on the goods received note, that goods are received. Comparisons. 1 copy of the goods received note will be sent to the purchase department. 1 of the copy of the goods received note, it will be sent to the purchase department. Purchase department will compare the quality and quantity with the invoice, and then they will check whether their quality and quantity, it is matching with the invoice or not, the invoice that you are sending to the supplier. Then again, invoice checking. Each invoice or receipt should be checked by a responsible officer. 1 responsible officer, he will check the invoice. Each invoice on receipt should be checked by a responsible officer. Whatever the receipt is, the responsible officer, he will check it with the purchase order, he will compare it with the purchase order, that the price and quantity is correct. And this comparison is for checking the quantity and the prices. So in invoice checking, we are comparing the purchase order with the invoice. Keep in mind, invoice this is supplier, this is our company. We will send purchase order. 1 copy will be here in the purchase department. Now, when they will send goods, we are purchasing goods on credit. So they will send invoice. The supplier will send invoice. And 1 copy of the purchase order, it is here in the purchase department. Now what will we do? Purchase order will be matched with invoice. It will be matched for the quantity, for the quality, and for the price. So we are doing this matching. Inspection. Before storing the goods, these should be inspected and quality should be tested. We will inspect it. It is also must. When goods came to the purchase department, then the purchase department will send it to the store department. Store simply. So in store, the responsible person, he will inspect the quality, whether the quality that we mentioned, it is according to the quality, and they will test it, whether it is working, these goods are in working condition or not. If goods are not in working condition, then we will move to the next step, purchase return. In case of any defect, it should be immediately reported the purchase department. The store responsible person, he will inform the purchase department that goods are not, some goods are defective or these are not in working condition. So then purchase department, they will take the necessary action. The purchase department may take up the case. All returns outwards should be accordingly authenticated and correct. Then the purchase department will take the necessary action and they will return these goods to the supplier. Invoice recording. Each invoice should be consecutively numbered and properly filed. The invoices that are coming from the suppliers, you will properly number these invoices and properly file it. You will properly file it, the organization, the company. Payment. A responsible officer should pass on the payment of invoices. Now when there are invoices, so now invoice means that you are purchasing goods on credit. Now after some time you will make payment. So here a responsible officer should pass on the payment of invoices. He will pass on the payment. He is responsible for the payment. Before signing the check, he should assure himself about the correctness of the account. He himself will check whether he is making payment to the correct account or not. He is making payment to the right person or not. So it is the responsibility of a responsible officer, one person who is responsible for payments on invoices, that he will check whether he is making payment to the right person, to the right account or not. So this is our overall system for internal check over purchases. Now, internal check over sales system. How you will control the sales so that there will be very less chance of fraud and errors. Receipt of purchase order. First of all, when you will sell goods, so first you will receive an order. Just like here, I told you that previously we were purchasers. We were purchasing goods. So we sent a purchase order. Now you are a seller. When you are a seller, now leave the previous picture. Now your company, they are making sales. So when you will make sales, so first of all you will receive purchase order from some company. purchase order from other company, purchase order from other company. So you will receive different purchase orders. Now here, all the orders from the customer should be received in written form. All the orders, it should be in written form, not oral orders. All the particulars about the goods like name of the product, date, and mode of transportation should be written in ordered received book. There should be a proper book in which you will write the name of the item, the quantity of the item, each and everything, and the mode of transportation, how you will send these goods to the purchaser in a book, and the name of the book is ordered received book. One copy of the order should be sent to the dispatch department, and one copy of the purchase order, it will be sent to the dispatch department. Dispatch department means that department which is sending goods to the purchaser. Checking of order. Before the dispatch of goods, each order should be checked with its correspondence. Whenever you are sending goods, you are dispatching goods, you will check the order. Each order should be checked with its correspondence, with its purchase order. And you are sending goods, so you will compare it with the purchase order, whether you are sending the right goods, right quantity, whatever that is, so you will make sure. Then sale invoices preparation. Sale invoices should be prepared in triplicate when the order is executed. When you will send goods, because you are selling goods on credit, so you will write an invoice. You will send an invoice to the purchaser. Here is the purchaser. So you will send invoice. So there should be 3 copies of the invoices. One copy, it will be sent to the purchaser, this one. One copy will be sent to the gatekeeper. See, it is given here. One copy of invoice will be sent to the buyer, second copy to the invoice clerk, to debit the account of customer, accountant you can say, who is making entry of that invoice in the books of accounts. And third copy is sent to the gatekeeper, because gatekeeper will make sure when goods are going out of the company, so gatekeeper, he is responsible for each and everything. So there should be one copy should be sent to the gatekeeper. So sale invoices should be prepared in triplicate. There should be 3 copies when the order is executed. Invoices checking. A responsible officer should check the calculations and price charged with initial that he has checked that work. So one responsible person, he will check all the calculations and the prices charged, because he will be responsible. It is his responsibility that he checked all these invoices. The next thing is copies of the invoices. So I told you about this. There should be 3 copies, and these copies, one copy will be sent to the buyer, the other copy will be sent to the invoice clerk, because he will make entry in the books of account, and the third copy will be sent to the gatekeeper. because whenever goods are going out of the company, this gatekeeper, he is responsible for the goods. This is his responsibility. Without his permission, you can't send goods out of the company. So gatekeeper, he will make sure that yes, this is order, and now the company want to fulfill that order, and these are the goods. So he will check each and everything. Properly numbered, consecutively each invoice should be numbered, and before dispatch, responsible officer should sign on it. So all the invoices, there should be proper numbering on the invoices, and one responsible officer, he should sign on these invoices. Without his sign, the dispatch is not possible. Dispatching of goods, an official should check the goods before packing and compare them with the order. So one responsible officer in the store, he will check the goods before packing. Before packing, he will check the goods and will compare the goods with the order, so that to prevent any mistake. Entries in the book. At the gate, all the packages should be entered in the goods outward books. Another book, the gatekeeper, he will write that these goods are going out of the company. In a book, the name of that book is Good Outwards Book by the gatekeeper. Against each entry, the number of sales invoices must be shown in the goods outward book. Against each entry, the number of sale invoice, whatever the goods are going out, he will write the name, the number of the sale invoice against in front of that order. In goods outward book, he will mention the number of the, he will mention the number of the invoice, sales invoice. Entry of return goods. If some goods are defective, so purchaser will return these goods. Sometimes goods are being returned by the customer due to any reason, due to any defect. Gatekeeper must enter such return in goods inward book. So when goods are coming into the company, so gatekeeper, he will write these books in goods inward book. Such record must be checked with the debit notes sent by the customer, and then this goods inward book, it will be compared with the debit notes. In this way, proper control should be maintained, and in this way we will keep a proper control on the goods which are going outward and goods which are coming into the company. So we are keeping a complete check on these things. Entries from the credit notes. From the credit notes, entries must be made in the returned inward books from which the customer's account concerned will be credited. This is purchaser. This is seller. When seller return goods, when purchaser return goods, he will send a debit note. Now, when goods are returned, he is demanding, see what is the entry when this man is purchasing goods. When this man is purchasing goods, what is the entry in the books of the seller? Seller is recording account receivable, debit, sales, credit, debit and credit. Now when goods are, what will be the entry in his book? Purchase, debit, account payable, credit. When this man is returning books, he is writing debit note. Basically, his account is credited. See, account payable. Suppose he made a purchase of $1,000. Now, when goods are defective, so he will write a debit note. He will, when goods are returned, suppose goods whose value is $100 are returned. So with these returned goods of $100, he will write a debit note that debit my account with $100. Like this will be the entry. This is basically a request that debit my account. See here in his books, account payable will be debited by 100 and purchase return will be credit by 100. See, his account is credit here. So he is writing a debit note because he is requesting the company to debit my account. So I will enter this entry in my books. And this man, see, he will write the seller who is accepting the goods, he will write a credit note. Because the account of the purchaser is debited in his books. So he will credit it. Account receivable will be credited by 100 and sales return will be debited by 100. The seller will send a credit note to the buyer and buyer will send a debit note to the seller. So this is basically the concept of debit and credit note. Listen again. This is seller. This is buyer. In his books, when he is making purchases, so purchase debit 1000 and account payable. I am writing shortly. Account payable, it will be credit by $1,000. Now when he is returning goods, because out of these 1000 purchases, 100 goods, these are defective. So when 100 goods, these are defective, so he will request the seller. He will write a debit note that debit my account by $100. So he is requesting for the debit of this account payable, that debit my account by $100. This seller, what will be the entry for him when he is making sales? Account receivable will be debit by 1000. Sales will be credit by 1000. Now see, when the buyer sends debit note, he accepts it. So he will write a credit note that I credit your account. You will pay $1000 to me. Now I am crediting your account. I am crediting account receivable by $100. I will not claim this money, and sales return will be debited. You can't debit sales account. Sales return account will be debited. Keep this thing in mind. And what will be the entry in his books? Account payable will be debited by 100 and purchase return will be credited by $100. So these are the entries in case of purchase and sales return. So now from the credit notes, entries will be made in the books of accounts. Collection of receipt. In this regard, there should be a strict controls on the collections of customers' account. When money is received from customers' account, customers should be immediately informed about the difference, the balance found any time. And when the payment is received, if there is any difference, so you will immediately inform the buyer that you paid this much amount and this much amount is left to you. Proper record in the process of sale, all the officer and officials' initials must be recorded. And keep in mind, whenever you are making a sale, any responsible person who is there in that process, so you, each one of them, there should be his signs and initials, his name and initials. There must be this thing available. So this is internal control over what? The sales system. I think for today it is enough. Inshallah, in the next class we will start the next chapter, the new chapter, and that will be the last chapter. Assalamu alaikum.